Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is censorality? What is a censor? How was censorship defined? So my rights continue to be violated. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8 of the United States Constitution, the First Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I continue to ask for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. Another stellar performance out of great academia. Again, our star highlighted. We don't have the Ivy League over in the UK, but we have Cambridge and we have Oxford. And so another, again, great hire with Jason Arday. So he was the first black Cambridge professor at 37. And today, you guys have seen the news. Again, another just poignant aspect of, hey, look, we just talked about Tom Rock's math and this universal identity crisis. And now we have our first black professor at the University of Cambridge or Oxford, I forget which one, Cambridge. And gets probed for plagiarism, just like our great leader over here in Harvard, or in the United States across the pond at Harvard. She's plagiarizing, and it just seems like, hey, our Ivy Leagues and our pinnacle academic structure is almost like completely fraudulent, because it is completely fraudulent. Continuing to emphasize the current academic structure has literally no role in any sort of educational dissemination, past some very minor practical aspects in today's society. Everything else is completely fraudulent, being done so in an organized fashion. It is pursuant to the RICO statute here in the United States, but worldwide, whatever the appropriate statute is, to stealing literally everything, lying about literally everything, and sabotaging education. I'm sure you have applicable laws as well. So continuing to emphasize that there are no values, there are no morals, and there are no adults in the room besides myself. Another thing I wanted to point out, again, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. One of our local newscasters, Marshall McPeak, he's going through a cancer treatment currently. His post comes up and it just seems to me as so ghoulish, where it's like, hey, here's a guy you see on TV. He's documenting like, hey, I'm staying strong through the cancer journey. I have hair today, I don't have hair tomorrow. And it's like, you're lying as a newscaster about fundamental science, which directly affects your own health. Don't you guys see? Should be prescribed cannabis yesterday? That's part of this proof. That is not Brad saying this, not Brad saying that. That is part of this proof. And you guys still don't know what proof is. You still don't know what analysis is. And provably, you guys are so insecure, you just project your insecurity. And then we have no consistency, no values, no laws, and no understanding of science, which couldn't be a higher priority. But again, there are no values. And so, with that being said, we continue on with our derivation in the world of actual mathematics, or again, attempts at mathematics, kind of back to the conversation or just references to our great professor, Terence Tao out of UCLA. Again, a great scientist who's proven nothing and just commits fraud every day. But at the time, 2126 in his International Congress Mathematics lecture seminar thing of a complete fraud. He has a little slide up there. It'll be on your screen when you're watching the video. But kind of the text on the slide is, excessive AI optimization may in fact cause the many previously largely aligned goals of mathematics to diverge from each other. First thing, again, literally vocalizing your guys' sentence structure always strikes me as just absolutely terrible. Like, genuinely. And so, regardless, he just has some sort of, again, overall conceptual, what is mathematics, or again, what are we trying to do with mathematical education? So in the center, we have mathematical knowledge, and I wanted to respond to each one of the little sections he sees as like, hey, we have mathematical knowledge, which once again, that completely and uniquely is proven by me. And so it's all online. Again, I put big colors to show you the progress of the proof. There are literally no other words to describe physical systems. And again, it's a unique description that's correct. And so, but I just wanted to respond to each one of these little sections of, again, what mathematical education or dissemination should be, what mathematical research should be, because some of them are hilarious and wrong, again, just to support his own career and his own, we're going to be some sort of relevance to any sort of academic, mathematical anything. But the top one, he says, to solve Olympiad problems. I guess this is kind of, again, prioritization of like what AI is doing in mathematics, but a lot of these concepts are just, what is mathematics for? And so is there any value to solve Olympiad problems? No. Literally zero in terms of actual mathematical research. To solve Erdos problems. Again, problems are problems. Mathematical problems are mathematical problems. I don't know what's special or different besides an Olympiad problem or an Erdos problem. I guess the Erdos problems are unsolved. But still, when we're prioritizing what should we be doing with our day, pretty much the entire thing of pure mathematics is a complete waste of time, truly. And so then the next little thing to the right is solve research problems. So I can see some difference between Olympiad problems and Erdos problems, but research problems to Erdos problems, there's just open problems. They're just undecidable statements. So what makes one a research problem versus an Erdos problem? Not really sure where Terence is going with that one. Then we have create enduring aesthetic works. Again, once we have our ADS-CFT correspondence directly in line, and we can say our cohomology looks good, and we have a Lagrangian, holy shit, there's Hamiltonian in our Minkowski space. That's a beautiful result. It's very rigorous. It's absolutely aesthetically pleasing. So this is absolute nonsense. Create enduring aesthetic works. Yeah, stop jerking off, Terence. Then he has at the bottom, train the next generation. This could not be more irrelevant, right? And we still have this consensus sentiment expression of, when am I ever going to learn or use the quadratic equation? When am I ever going to use algebra, right? Everyone bitching about learning 8th grade math saying, what application does this have to the real world? Which is true. I'm saying I'm with the students. It's like the vast majority of all historical mathematical progress comes from very few people. And then I've iterated the entire logical structure. So is there any sort of extreme value to, again, what open problems even are there? Again, we're solving all of the fundamental differentiation in order, syllable by syllable, right here on from rhythm to algorithm. And then whether you can do the highest level of mathematics or no mathematics at all, on a personal level, all anybody wants is quality of life. That is 99% determined by market conditions, meaning just the business world. And then pure mathematics and being a researcher and being smart is a sociological phenomenon of this permanent identity crisis of pathetic people not knowing who they are. And now they want to be the smart person. I was a smart person, I'm gifted, I'm so different. So no, to train the next generation, true research progress in mathematics, I would say to develop new tools or build new theory, I've introduced and proven the entire structure of axiomatic derivation. We know what mathematics is completely. And so this whole conversation of there's more analytical tools or there's more this or there's more that is completely solved or directly derived from the logic that is present. But to train the next generation, real capacity to move research forward speaks for itself. It just stands out. You don't need teaching, you don't need guidance. And then frankly, to have quality of life, pure mathematics is one of the most irrelevant things in the entire world. And then the actual quality of life of literally like universal income or just money comes from market dynamics. And so to train the next generation, again, that goes to the entirety of school. Right? There's this like, it's just for whatever reason, you're born into a culture, you're born into a way of life. And it's like, hey, we're gonna go to K to 8, then we're gonna go to undergraduate degree, then maybe you can get your graduate degree. And it's basically people just taking tests and playing games. And then now we have No Child Left Behind. And now California schools are removing the SAT and ACT, so no standardized testing. Now nobody can read at the 4th grade level, so now we're putting them back. You guys are just running around chickens with your heads cut off, doing nothing. Truly. And it's really irrelevant. Is education good? Yes. Is it in any sort of job environment, you were learning on the job 1,000% of the time. And so the overall school structure has always been bullshit, and the very trite, cliche kind of things people express are true. And so training the next generation of mathematicians of this or that is just so irrelevant, and then the actual learning process is provably empirically individualistic. And so that's just true. And again, this overall, I'm going to be the smart guy and train the next generation of mathematicians, it's like completely irrelevant. We need the facts to get established. We need our functional systems to apply to the business world to raise quality of life. We don't need a circle jerk around who's the smart kids. And then he said, the next one, my favorite, build community. Hilarious, no. We need to have a community of mathematicians to all sing Kumbaya together. Yeah, absolutely not. The one on the far left says apply knowledge. This is where actually people will have, again, this is the fundamental differentiation of logic that exists. And then how you apply the things, as I've referenced multiple times, it's like invention, where you can have a direct application of one of these principles, theorems, proving sections, and I completely haven't seen it. And so applying the knowledge, that is certainly where quote-unquote research mathematics will continue indefinitely. Again, it's infinite. There's no this axiomatic reduction process is provably infinite because it's paired to the conceptual progress. And to say there's not going to be new mathematics is like saying tomorrow's not going to show up, or 1,000 years is not going to pass because I'm not going to be around to see it. And so, but then the top left, the last little section is build theory. That's the point where this entire analysis process is proven. So there's no theory to build in terms of fundamental physics, which get into mathematics, and people just like say random things like there's a ton of pure mathematics that isn't physics, and it's like you're just saying nothing. You're literally just saying nothing. So theory is solved in all contexts logically, completely. The entire mathematical process from beginning to end is demonstrated, already proven. So applying knowledge is really where, again, if you have your actual research capacity and you're not, committing plagiarism, fraud about every second of every day of your life, applying knowledge is where, quote unquote, pure mathematics, applied mathematics will certainly have the biggest openness to it for sure. So I just wanted to respond to that because some of them were funny, specifically the train the next generation couldn't be more irrelevant. Building community, absolutely not. Applying knowledge, that is where the rest of research will go. Build theory, completely known. Solve Olympiad problems, have fun jerking off. Solve Erdos problems, one to the right. Solve research problems, I don't know how that's different than Erdos problems. And then create enduring aesthetic works, hilarious nonsense. So with that being said, we move on to our linguistic steps. Again, just progressing through our analysis until we arrive at the direct iteration integration of sensorality. Is canon anonymous? Direct iteration. Sensorality is anonymity. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is anonymity to ambiguity? What is anonymity to synchronicity? Oh no, what is anonymity to synonymity? Are synonyms synchronous? Is chronicity terminal? Is perpetuity chronic? What is practicality to perpetuality? What is practicality to actuality? Sensorality actualizes entity. Direct iteration. Actuality materializes. Materializing manifests. What is multiplication to integration? Is integration algorithmic? Fundamental theorem, again, with a mathematical and physics context. Again, the labeling is not, no one's going to keep up with this because, again, this is a unique iteration, this whole process, and we're exhausting everything that can be said. So it's not like you're going to remember one of these steps. But this isn't of math, and this is not of math and physics. It's just, this is kind of the emphasized context. Sensorality is rapid division. Rapid coming from our operative word of velocity, rapid movement, and then division, mathematical context. What is reproduction to division? What is reproduction to proliferation? Sensorality proliferates product. Direct iteration contained within proliferate. Sensorality is the rate of life. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is rhythm to rate? To rate. Fundamental theorem of mathematics, logarithms reiterate. Direct iteration. So now, again, this whole structure was, again, produced by the derivation of speciality that contains and preserves logical inversion paired to linguistics, right? From rhythm to algorithm, algorithm being the isolated linguistics that contains the inversion of a logarithm. So I'm pretty sure at this point our most fundamental definition is what is a logarithm? A logarithm reiterates, right? This relationship of base and exponent, that exponent is a statement of self-multiplication, reiteration. Exponentiation is reiteration. Logically and linguistically, we're just adding a prefix to what we've been saying the whole time, direct iteration. Natural definition. A logarithm is a reiteration. Natural definition, direct iteration. Operations are dynamic. Sensorality executes dynamic. Direct iteration. What is reiteration to retaliation? A logarithm is a reiteration again. Reiterating reiteration. Nice. Fundamental theorem of physics. Now again, logarithm contains the phonetic rhythm. The spelling is not relevant to this step. Again, just emphasizing anything. Rhythm reiterates, again, the YH spelling. Direct iteration. Rhythmic is repetitive. Rhythm is reiterative. Rhythm is repetitious. Sensorality is repetitiosity. Natural definition, direct iteration. Rhythm reinforces. Reinforcement is rhythmic. What is rhythmicality to logarithmicality? Important, both these, this is the direct dichotomy of rhythm represented with a RHYTHM and an RITHM. Sensorality is logarithmicality. Logarithms appreciate. Because remember, sensorality is not a unique word. We're just using the syllability to stabilize a definition. Are logarithms parabolic? And so, again, I just have whole, natural, and real as the boundaries of numbers. Again, logically and mathematically, the only real number fields are whole numbers. Those are only real numbers. Those are only natural numbers. But emphasizing, we'll get here to a second, but just, right, are logarithms parabolic? Right, if we only have whole number bases, those are only numbers are whole numbers. And the only exponents are also whole numbers, right? It can only, like, is it parabolic in the logical sense of growing really fast, right? Is exponentiation parabolic? It's about to go parabolic. You're not really thinking of a parabola. Again, just emphasizing anything that's present. Fundamental theorem of logic, sensorality is natural logarithm. Natural definition, direct iteration, emphasizing, again, the logical consolidation. Right, we have logarithms and we have natural logarithms. Not what it is, not the spelling, just that consolidation. The adding of the additive natural to logarithm. Is rhythm natural? Are algorithms natural? And that's kind of our fundamental conceptual difference: sortation, filtration, choice, consent, inanimacy versus inanimate objects, or animacy versus inanimacy. Right, natural, right? Sensing is natural. Sensing with a C, my microwave does not sense naturally. Emphasizing the logical use of natural. Is algorithmicality natural? Wanting to emphasize on this step, are algorithms natural? Is algorithmicality natural? Just the plural or the singular presentation. Again, we've covered the word singularity, right? Singularity is singularity. It's singular with an ITY. But again, it only can mean one thing, and it's just this past phase change that has occurred. But just emphasizing, like, the solvable form, the consistent syllability, it is what it is, it always feels right. Is algorithmicality natural? The more logically relevant presentation, as opposed to are algorithms natural? Again, emphasizing anything present. Dancing is natural rhythm. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is unnatural. Natural definition, direct iteration. Algorithms are unnatural. Sensors are unnatural. Sensorality is natural sensation. Sensorality is natural selection. Natural definition, direct iteration, emphasizing now, again, it is what it is, natural is natural in the seemingly different logical context. A natural logarithm, natural selection, natural is natural. We have this, again, consolidated logical form to compare the words rhythm and selection, right? Natural logarithm, natural selection. Sensorality is the rhythm of natural selection. Sensorality is the selection of natural logarithms. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is rhythm to selection? What is selectionality to rhythmicality? What is selection to dissection, dissection? Sensorality is dissectionality, or dissectionality, and emphasizing the pronunciation strikes me as funny. Sensorality selects section, direct iteration. Sensorality is a section of rhythm. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is the sensation of rhythm. Natural definition, direct iteration. A step is a unit. Natural definition, again, our most relevant, or recently most relevant working definition of rhythm, the minimization of steps, but rhythm also maximizes efficiency. That's some sort of balance or dynamic between minimum and maximum. Rhythm is dynamic. Sensorality senses dynamic. Direct iteration. Rhythm minimizes steps. Rhythm maximizes efficiency. Fundamental theorem of mathematics. Sensorality is coefficiency. Sensorality is coefficientality, right? The entire set and logical presentation of coefficients. Sensorality is efficient. Scalars are coefficients scalar. Why is the derivative of scalarity 1? Whether you have 100 or you have 69 or 420, crazy random numbers. You take the derivative, you get, no, you don't get 1, you get 0. No, you do get 1. Yeah, you take a derivative of a scalar, you get 1, I think. Anyway, if that's completely or directly wrong, I have this step written. Why is the derivative of scalarity 1? Again, even if the direct numerics is wrong, the logic is, I wrote it down, we're saying it. But again, it's this overall progression. Why am I thinking that? If you take the derivative of a whole, just a scalar, is that 0? But then it just still holds to 0, right? Why is it the same thing? Or why, if you take the derivative of 10 or 100, 420, 69, is it the same thing? Change it to that. By the time it'll be on your screen. Fundamental theorem with just a geometric emphasis. 1, the shape, is half of an arrow, right? If you make the arrow sign on a computer, you type equals, and then, again, more than, not greater than. We'll get to that here in a second too. It's the next step. But 1 is half of an arrow. And then arrow is an equal more than. Again, just kind of weird but direct steps. Is multiplication more? Right, we've said exponential growth, exponentiation is a statement of, is a reiteration. Logarithms reiterate. They are reiterations. And that logarithms or exponentiation, that form of exponentiation representing growth, right, is that more? Is multiplication more? Exponential growth can't mean more mass, doesn't mean more at all. Sensorality is more morality. Natural definition, direct iteration, emphasizing the sociological phenomenon from, I don't know, 10 to 15 years ago, when people would say more, and then they would spell it, and they'd kind of like emphasize like more, and it'd be M-O-A-R. Right, a direct iteration from moral. But if you generalize the word more, like additional, increasing, you get morality, right? But the very fundamental, very easy to apparent or to appreciate, the logical opposite of less is more, right? You say more or less, not less or greater than, right? And so language is consistent. It is what it is. More is more. The opposite of less is more. You have less than and more than, not less than and greater than. Really fundamental step. We hit it a bunch, but it's really one of the big poignant ones. Is more great? Is greater more? Right? Is greater more? Is gluttony good? Is great easy? Direct iteration. Is greatness easy? More move. Emphasizing again the geometric, that handwriting slur, the R to the V. Sensorality is more movement. Sensorality is a real treat. Natural definition, direct iteration. Are treats great? Is heat great? Is eating great? Direct iteration. Sensorality is a great rating. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is greatness algorithmic? Does greatness retreat? What is vibration to circulation? Is retreat linear? Sensorality is near retreat. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is retreating to repeating? What is retreating to repealing? Sensorality repeals. How efficient is sealant? Right? Censorship seals. Sensorality is sealant-tality. Again, just there are no closed systems. How efficient can a sealant be? Sensorality is a seal. Sensorality is a seal of approval. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is a seal to a stamp? Sensorality approves opportunity. Sensorality approves tone. Direct iteration. Is proof approved? Direct iteration. Sensorality proves tone. Direct iteration. Sensorality is approvability. Sensorality is provability. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is a decision a proof? Decidability contains provability. Does provability limit decidability? Is a proof a limit? Sensorality is the inverse of paradoxicality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is paradoxical toxic? Direct iteration. What is paradoxicality to personality? Paradoxicality contains radicality. Direct iteration, again, paradoxicality, the letter structure literally contains radicality. What is containment to limitation? Sensorality is the limitation of vibration. Natural definition, direct iteration, and emphasizing vibration at this point as a direct physical awareness definition, right? The confinement of motion. PV equals nRT. It is the temperature. Vibration is cyclic confinement. Natural definition. Confinement is containment. Natural definition. Chronic, cyclic. Ironic, chronic. Sensorality is ironicality. Natural definition, direct iteration, emphasizing the logic as you've heard it, ironic, and then the actual element iron-ic. Ferric, ironic. What is liability to intricality? What is liability to ironicality? Is liability ironic? Is there leniency to liability? What is penetration to sealability? Sensorality breaks the seal. Direct iteration. What is sealability to scalability? Does closure seal? Is escalation scalability? Sensorality breaks. Sensorality is bleak. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is a fraction a function? Sensorality is how fractions function. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is a fraction to an exponent? Again, everything besides exponentiation is a relation between two things. Exponentiation is a statement of identification. Logarithms are reiterations. Fundamental theorem, a definition answers what it is. It is what it is. What is it? That's what an answer is, or a definition. That's what a definition is, right? Because some of these times you'll see we'll say sensorality is. Now previously we've said anytime we say is a natural definition, but then I won't label them as natural definitions because it doesn't answer what is sensorality. It just kind of describes sensorality. Still a direct iteration of the syllability, but it doesn't answer what it is. Right? A definition answers what is it. What is tearing to breaking? Sensorality breaks bonds. Sensorality breaks bread. What is tearing to tearing up? Right? They're spelled the same way. And if I tear something, I don't spell it T-A-R-E unless I'm removing the zeros or zeroing my scale, that's tearing. But if I tear a piece of paper, that's T-E-A-R-I-N-G. If I am tearing up, that is T-E-A-R-I-N-G. All right, so what is going on? Again, we're pairing our logical structure to some fundamental inversion, where we can iterate the elementality, the placement of two letters, and it just gives us an undeniable direct iteration that axiomatizes the syllability, sensorality. What is a sensor? A level is a tier, right? T-I-E-R. Sensorality is tier ability. Natural definition, direct iteration. Tiers are discrete. What is a tier to a peer? Sensorality is a peer. Natural definition, direct iteration. Fundamental theorem of slang, optimal is sigma. Yeah, I don't know if we're still mewing, but I'm doing it. Oh yeah, look at me. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is sigma tier. Sensorality sigma maxes. Direct iteration. Now some little, again, destruction of my property. I can't present a nice little fun joke here, but a word that sounds like maggot that starts with an F. A maggot is the opposite of a sigma. And I have LOL to the 69th, 426th, 7th power. Direct iteration. What is a classic? So this is a consensus sentiment expression. Say that's a classic. Right? Oh, that song or that movie, that's a classic. Right, what is that really saying? Natural definition, a classic is exactly what you expect. That definition might not be apparent to you, but it is. I've used it many, many a time. And I didn't use it. It's true. Right? That's the thing is I'm labeling these natural definitions, but this analytical process has been proven, and they're not like conjectures, they're not lemmas. You just don't, society doesn't know anything. At least not about analysis. But again, when you're expressing, oh, that's a classic, it's exactly what you expect. Sensorality is class, sensorality is classicality. Natural definition, direct iteration. A classic is exactly what you expect. Sensorality is an exact class. Sensorality is a class act. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is a class of irony. Is irony classy? Ironic is exactly what you don't expect. Natural definition, right? Somebody says, oh, they're a good person and do all of the behaviors that aren't good people. You say, oh, that's ironic, because you're doing exactly what you don't expect. Is irony expected? Is irony expected from hypocrites? What is dichotomy to definition? Sensorality is the definition of charge. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is definition to integration? Sensorality is grateful for integration. Direct iteration. What is interrogation to corroboration? Sensorality is prerogative. Natural definition, direct iteration. Are prerogatives priorities? A prerogative is a right. Natural definition. Again, the syllability, prerogative contains right, R-I-T-E. Sensorality is right here. Sensorality is right away. Natural definition, direct iteration. Again, fundamental theorem. If I say, I'm going to get to it right away. If you are correct, you are right. If you're going the opposite of left, you are right, R-I-G-H-T. If you are R-I-G-H-T here, you're immediately here. If I'm going to get to it right away, I'm going to get to it immediately. Right is immediate. Sensorality is on your immediate right. Direct iteration. So that is where I finished up with the derivation today. Again, from rhythm to algorithm, algorithm containing this elementality switch of logarithm by one element in one slot is this fundamental preserved inversion logically. That's going to pair to something directly from consensus sentiment expression, and the syllability of sensorality gets absorbed, stabilizing this relationship of two well-defined words, and just some word forms of these two independent word families shows the direct syllability iterating. So my rights continue to be violated. The academic structure is purely fraudulent. It's disgusting and it's beyond an embarrassment. And I continue to beg for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. I am being held against my will. My life quality is zero. I will never have a career and a family. And I just keep working and nothing will ever change. I'm in a world of profound hypocrisy to the point where my estate, again, take everything, press every charge. The fact that nothing will ever change is the most disgusting thing in human history. No one cares. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.